welcome everyone for joining us today. I'm actually under the weather. I've been sick for almost a week now. I had a sinus infection that moved into my chest, and then so just a little under the weather. So forgive me if I have to pause a couple times to cough or whatever. That's what's going on. I sounded like um, God, by the end of Saturday, I sounded awful. After the game, I sounded uh, like some weird old Western dude, like doing an impression. Anyways, appreciate everyone for joining us. Obviously, not the weekend that everyone would have liked at Louisville. I think everyone's in their feelings mainly because they had a chance to win a road game against a ranked team again and let it slip away, and through a lot of you know um, through three significant mistakes by players, but also through some hard head coaching and some mistakes with clock management. There was a lot of different things that just didn't work well in that game. And there's this should be a week that maybe Brent Key and his staff do a little soul searching and try to figure things out. And last year they started really slow and then came on in the back half of the season. Hopefully, we will see a similar occurrence after this bye week. I think that everyone has a right to be frustrated. I think, though, some of the frustration also comes from just how bad things were under Jeff and for so long, and that everyone saw like some light, some brightness for the first time in a while and got excited, and they're just not there yet as a team. And clearly they haven't taken the step forward yet that I think a lot of us expected them to, including myself to a point. Like I think that all of the teams they played have not been as good as I thought they would be, with the exception of maybe Georgia State and VMI, who I didn't have huge expectations for. I thought Georgia State was a little bit better than I thought they would be, but um, VMI was worse than probably I thought they were. And then obviously Florida State was a train wreck, and Syracuse is sort of a medium level, middle of the road Syracuse team. So it's frustrating if you're a Georgia Tech fan, and I get it. And but again, this is a process. It's a long process, and that's where your former head coach, who's now ruining North Carolina football, put the thing. So that's the unfortunate part for Georgia Tech. The one silver lining I think from this weekend was just the utter and complete collapse of North Carolina football on the defensive side against James Madison University that scored 13 points on Gardner Webb 2 weeks earlier this season. So that was the silver lining. That was the thing that saved everyone that was really in their feels about the game on Saturday. But I'm excited to see what how they look coming out of the bye week at Duke at night. And I'm sure Alex was quite in the dumps on Saturday night, when I pinged him after the game when I was walking in my car with Chad Bishop. We were talking, and it's it's interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna wait to write my takeaways on Sunday morning. I was just sitting there Saturday night, like not going to sleep. So I said, well, I might as well get up and put it on there. And I don't know, it was frustrating. It was like I don't know. Uh, Looking back at it, I guess it's part of growing as a team is you got to figure out ways to win games instead of ways to lose games. And they certainly figured out how to lose a game on Saturday that was very winnable, and it kind of would have really changed the view of what we did in this first month plus of the season. 4-1 in the bye week with a win over a
Two ranked team wins.
yeah, would have been, I mean, pretty big deal. But 3-2 is not awful. It's just not exactly what we had hoped it would be after the way it started. So I don't know. Like you said, they kind of found their groove last year around October sometime. So maybe they're just trying to find their identity as especially offensive. I mean, defense can be hit or miss sometimes, but offense is like, I don't know. They're so good sometimes, and then I don't know. They can't really run the ball, so that's a pretty big deal. I don't know. That's
It's
where
hard
we
to
got to figure things out.
It's hard to win when you can't run the football. I think that that's maybe been the biggest surprise, especially given the offensive lineman coming back and all the other things that are going on. I think that it's pretty frustrating to see the lack of, especially just getting exploded in the A gap so much and just not being able to get any kind of push in your guard box, which is your three of your most experienced guys right there with Fiesel and Weston Franklin and Keelan Rutledge, and just not getting a lot of push there. And the run blocking's not been good all year, and that was sort of the microcosm of that game, that they couldn't move the ball when they needed to in short yardage, and it's hard to win games like that. I think it'll be interesting to see what they do as the season goes along and what the adjustments they make this week. This is, I think, a huge week if you're Buster Faulkner. I think Tyler Santucci showed you a little bit more of what he's able to do as defensive coordinator. Even though they weren't getting to the quarterback, they were getting pressure, getting holds, wiping out some big plays. There were a lot of holds that weren't called in the game. They got to figure out how to get more of those flags. They were basically like tackling Romello Hyde at times. He was actually really disruptive given how low some like PFF and some of those people had him. I thought he actually impacted the game in a different way with just being able to draw penalties and them having to account for him on that edge. So that was encouraging to see as well. But they got to get to the quarterback, and that's the lack. And someone brought this up in the mailbag today, but the lack of pass rush and the lack of interceptions right now are the biggest concerns. But you have played two of the better guys, or really three. The three quarterbacks they've played in league play are all guys who protect the football. So that factors into it to a point. You're not playing the gunslingers of the league that are wild, like Kyle McCord. I think didn't throw a pick till the Michigan game or something last year. DJU's numbers were very low at his last year at Clemson and last year at Oregon State, and then a little bit off this year, but they've been having to try to come back in some games and stuff. I think that may have amped up his interceptions a little bit. And then the kid from Georgia State actually looked pretty good. The pick transfer, Villieu or whatever his name was. So we'll see. Like I think Will just said in the chat, defense gave up 17 points. He'll live with that every week as a head coach.
I think, yeah, for sure. Like going into Louisville on the road, if we would, defense gives up 17 points, I would think that our offense would be able to figure out a way to score enough to win that game. But I mean, when you give up two, when you like gift a touchdown to them on that lateral RPO, whatever that was, and then the long field goal, I guess you didn't have any other choice there but to kick it 4th and 14 or whatever it was. But it was just bad. I don't know, just mistakes and stuff that I don't know should be cleaned up. It's frustrating loss, but yeah, the run blocking is just, I don't know. It's like the offensive line is just not getting downhill. It's like they're just catching defensive linemen instead of attacking. And
it's funny because the pass pro has been phenomenal
yeah,
most of the year. It wasn't great in this past game. It was okay, but it was it just wasn't good enough. And like the run blocking wasn't good enough, and I don't know how you fix that. Maybe they got to try some different people or do something. I'm not sure what it is. That's why they pay Brent all the big bucks.
I wouldn't be surprised after the bye week if there's some different bodies rolling in there. Um, I think they feel good about the next group. I know that Galloway and Brandon Best and those kind of guys, I think they feel good about the depth. So I don't have any sources or anything, but I just feel like maybe they're going to get some different guys in the rotation there and see who can, create a different line of scrimmage and get downhill a little bit and make the run game actually work a little bit better. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right, well, let's get into the questions here before I like cough my head off and pass out.
All right, let's see.
And I ran out of stupid cough drops.
Well, there's a question about you not flying Delta, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk. I can talk about it. I'm fine answering that question. I think I answered it on the board, but I'm happy to talk about it. It was very funny. The flight up was fine. Like I got a Delta flight up. It was no problem, direct, nonstop. I'm gold, about to be platinum on Delta, and fly a lot for work. And Delta's like been pricing me out, man, a lot this year, last 2 years really. And so I'm very careful about this stuff, trying to use the budget wisely. I got a flight on American for like, it was a fifth of the price of the Delta return flight, and I was able to upgrade to first for like $100 for both legs of that flight, which is a big dude. Like, it was worth it to me. So it was like, um, just crazy that it was that expensive or whatever. So that's why my Delta is my preferred airline. I love Delta. They do me right, but sometimes they price me out, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't know anything about all that airline
Alex hasn't
stuff.
flown. We're gonna fix that at some point this year. I think we're gonna have to take him on a trip. We'll see
My,
how the
my
season's going.
my cousin's actually a pilot, I think, flies for American Airlines and stuff. So it's, yeah, we kind of went two different directions there. but but yeah, well, next question is
It won't be
going in.
Blacksburg because flying into Roanoke will white knuckle you a little bit too much. You get in those little the mountains up there, and it's a little gnarly.
Yeah, I don't know how I do with that one. It says going into the bye, outside of getting guys healthy, what are the top things that need to be addressed on offense, defense, and special teams? So I think we talked. I think you talked about that in the mailbag a little bit too. So
Um, I just think there's so like the block field goal, like the block field goal, the guy with the outside protection literally didn't touch the guy. He just ran right by him, and that's why the field goal got blocked. It was like timing up a snap in the NCAA football game and like running across and blocking the old game. I don't know if you can still do that in the new one, playing someone else, but you'd watch the little meter and know when they were going to snap the ball. You could time your run and block it in the old one. That's literally what it looked like, and that's kind of the difference in luck too. I talked about this maybe in the mailbag or something else, but like earlier in the season, like in the Syracuse game, they blocked two kicks in that game, and both of them went forward, which is like almost impossible. Like, how the hell did two different kicks like get blocked and go forward? But that's sort of the luck of the draw, and they've had no luck so far this year. So I think that that's where things are at.
yeah, I saw that. I think I talked about that Montre Bradford block on against Syracuse. Like it was basically a block. I mean, it's a block, but it basically ended up being
It was
like a
like a
short
10
punt.
yard punt or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe we just get those bounces the second half of the season. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Here's a question about Key on fourth downs. Um,
So people think that Brent's like butting into the headset and telling. Um, by the way, Philip, I'm not sure what your question was, so I don't know the answer to that.
I think it's lower. I think we ain't got.
Oh, okay.
We
Yeah,
have,
we just got started
yeah,
into the
just got
question, so I
started.
think you're good, buddy. Um, I try not to do the chat too much because it sucks if you watch it back later. You don't have the chat running or whatever, or if you're listening when I put this up as audio. Um, I think that. Sorry, what were we talking about? I lost my train of thought for a second. Sorry,
Just
Alex.
talking about Key going for it on fourth and
Oh
one.
yeah. So people think that Key's like hopping on the headset going, dive, dive, dive. That's not what's happening. Like, I've talked to enough people that are in that loop. I know the people who are on the comms and all of that stuff. That's not Buster's calling the plays. Like, this is not the situation that everyone got worked up about in the end of the 22 season where they said that Winky was calling plays to Chip Long or whatever. That's not what's happening. Like, and judging by some of the reactions you saw after some of the play calls and things on the sideline, apparently that was definitely clear that those certain people were not making those calls. But yeah, I don't know why. I don't know if, and like that's I didn't ask what the calls were, so I don't know if those were design gives or like bad reads by Haynes or what. There's been some misreads in the option game by Haynes, and obviously he had the one big mistake with the RPO where he tried to throw a swing pass or lateral back to a guy when he should just ate it because you're coming out of your own end zone. Um, I did see this. Charlie Blackmon's retiring. Great career with the Rockies. Cool former Georgia Tech baseball player. So, congrats to him on a nice run. He had a really strong career there. He was unfortunately on the Rockies, so he didn't get a chance to show it off to a lot of people a lot of the time because they were not always the greatest team in the world. But a cool career and also a dude with a tremendous look for he looks like a baseball player, like right out of the. He just has that like kind of scruffy baseball man look. So Charlie, good dude. Happy for him in his retirement. Um,
And Charlie Culberson retired. I don't know who, not Georgia Tech related, but I know
the
him.
other, he was the utility guy that played for the Braves, right?
Yeah, he from Calhoun. I've had a little interaction with him. He's a good dude. He's the ultimate team player, and Charlie Blackmon was too. They kind of played every position needed, and he two good guys. Charlie's retiring, so let's see. There's a question about the defensive performance. What do you attribute our better defensive performance against Louisville? I mean, the run defense was definitely better.
Yeah, their run fits were good, and they have talented running backs. That wasn't the issue. They just shut down the run, made them one dimensional, and um, you know, the main issue there was they hit a couple of explosives. They had to play with because really even Show's numbers or Shao, whatever the hell his name is, they weren't that great. He hit the explosive over the one where Amari had the PI, and then the dude made the miraculous catch and ran into the end zone on a play where he probably should just tackle the guy or do something really crazy. Like, if you're going to get the PI and the flag, you already saw the flag was out just because he gave up when he saw the flag. It's just like shove him out of bounds or whatever you got to do at that point. Like, you're not going to get a second penalty for that at that point. More than like, unless you like forearm shivered him or something really bad. So,
I,
that
I
was one
mean,
chunk. They had one chunk play off that, and then there was one I think where like defender took like a terrible angle on a play that was on the far sideline from me on the Tech sideline going to the south end zone, and dude scored, and that might have been was that the tight end maybe I don't remember, but
I think I know there were. I know Tobe had a really bad angle on on the when the
yeah,
guy
that's the one I'm
scored.
thinking of talking about. Yeah, yeah.
And then, but there was another one that, like, I can't I remember if it was a third down or something, but Tatum took a horrible angle. Like, he had help inside too, and he just ran up and let the guy get to the sideline and get a first down too. So
Yeah, sometimes guys just and that's like I mean I watched if you watched the Falcons Chiefs game last night you saw a bunch of this like even pros screw this stuff up like I mean the Falcons were not doing anything special in that game and the Chiefs were having trouble stopping them so um God, that was frustrating too. After watching, I was like, "Oh, I'll watch the game." The game was close. I was like, "Let me turn it on." So I started watching the fourth quarter, and I was like, "Man, this is like so frustrating to watch." They had like two point blank shots to like score and win the game, and did.
yeah,
Um,
I mean, the fans were upset about the non-pass interference, but even after that, they had another
and
chance
that
to
was a
score.
horrendous. Not, I mean, the dude got
It
there
was
before, way
bad.
before the ball. Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad, but they had two more chances after that to score and didn't do it. So, but I mean,
Here, I'll answer Will's question real quick too. They should throw the football. He's asking to show the football to the tight ends more. They're damn near open every play. Yeah, that was something that was missed a year ago, and they've gotten a little better with using Avery. They had a nice pass, the VMI game, I think it was to Avery on the seam, or maybe it was last game on the seam. Oh, maybe it was this last game in the seam route. Yeah, I guess it was this last game, and they all blend together after 25 years, unfortunately.
he had a good one in the Louisville game where I think it was like an option route where they came in but took the receiver and he just went down the
He
seam and
went vertical, yeah, like on the seam, yeah. That's the one I'm thinking of, and Jackson Haas had a couple nice plays. Yeah, Haynes has got to find those guys. You can't just force feed it to Singleton and Malik, and then Malik played a hell of a game, by the way, and Eric played well, but Malik Rutherford really showed how tough he is as a guy. I mean, he's not 100%. He's out there playing his butt off and played the whole game. I think he only took 3 snaps off in the game, so
I think Malik has really helped us. I think might have a future as a slot guy in the NFL. He's really played.
He's very quick. He's not like Eric Singleton, like elite fast, but he's fast enough, and his hands are good, and he's tough and not afraid. So yeah, I think I could see someone taking a chance on him in the future.
Yeah. There's a question about the linebacker. How do you feel about the linebacker rotation going forward? Um,
I would like to see more Tajay Butler. I think Jackson Hamilton's showed some interesting stuff. I'm curious when EJ Lightsey's healthy, what does he give you? Can he get into the rotation? He hasn't been consistently healthy since getting to Tech. Came in injured and missed a lot of time in the spring, and then got dinged up again and has missed a bunch of time. And I think that's hurt them a little bit, being just four guys at linebacker right now that they're real comfortable playing in games. And then the next guy up's a walk on, Austin Dean. So I think that I would like to see Tajay more. I'm curious to see what he looks like, and I think he plays the game the right way, and I'm excited to see him. He has a little bit of that swag to him too that I like at linebacker. So I'm excited to see how he plays.
I think he's going to work his way in there, especially as how much pass. I think he's quick enough to be good in pass defense, and Eford is a good linebacker, but he's obviously limited in when he's running around trying to cover guys, and I could see Butler playing a lot more and them figuring it out a little bit. Let's see here. There's a question about Key's hesitation and decision making coming from his bad habits at UCF in 2015.
So I talked about this like in the mailbag a little bit. So there's a couple of different things going on. One is I see terrible decision making all the time in college football. So it's not unique to Brent or any coach. I watched Alex Golish make a couple weird decisions in their last two losses. They lost at Bama and then lost to Miami this weekend. Watching all of those games, the young coaches will do that. And you went from a situation where you had a guy that was playing a different game in his head, and Paul Johnson that was really good at that. Like he would get some wrong, but he was very definitive about what he's doing, and he was thinking two or three plays ahead all times, and he was calling the plays, which is different too. I've seen Saban, Kirby make mistakes like that too. I think there's a little paralysis by analysis might be going on here, and they need to just. I don't know if it's with Buster. We're not in the chain, so we don't know what's going on in the headsets, and there could be issues there. That was a huge issue Paul's first year with the defense. The defensive coordinator at the time, Dave Womack, apparently had trouble getting the calls in, and that's been an issue that Jeff Collins had as well with their defense. They struggle to get calls in on time, and the defense can't get set and things. You can have the reverse on offense. And I've wondered about something. This is just purely my speculation. If there may be some issues with having the head comms and being able to adjust so much that's throwing the vibe off a little bit for Buster. I don't know. Like being able to look and change things so quickly on a fly. I'm curious to see if that's what's going on.
I don't think that the from the way that Haynes is dealing with the helmet communications, like he's not just hearing he's having a hard time hearing it, and not even just at home.
Well, he does like this.
Yeah, but like I don't know if it's just like it just like blares into their ears, or I don't know if they would think about.
So they can adjust volume. There's all sorts of stuff, and
but like if you're wearing a helmet and something just like blaring, I'm sure it don't come very clear sometimes, especially when you're in the middle of a football stadium. So I don't know. Maybe that's the next technology that they'll figure out as to way, people can get clearer communication than that.
So Caleb just asked about who Brent's talking to on the sideline during some of these things. That guy's Pat Boyle, who is the director of research and analytics at Georgia Tech, and he's Brent talks about the book, and Pat's the guy in charge of that stuff, and he's been on the staff for quite a few years. He was a he's one of the few holdovers actually from Coach Collins. He played at Temple with his twin brothers, one of the strength guys as well on the strength staff. Sorry, I forget what Sean's the performance manager, assistant director of football strength and conditioning. So Sean's his twin brother. They look like very similar. It's very funny. Um, it's funny. I think when Chad Bishop first started, he was at like a practice and he saw one of them and then saw the other one and was like, it took like he didn't realize they were twins and like was like real thrown off. And then he like came over and like asked me and I was like, hey, yeah, that's the deal. But that's who that big dude is with the beard that you see Brent talking to. That's his like right hand guy. So I'm sorry.
You
But
good?
yeah, they discuss things. I wonder if Brent's still learning how to. I think there's guys that have those conversations. They might be in the headset or wherever. Brent wants the guy next to him on the field. So there's always somebody. Every coach has like some dude that's like has the analytics card. This is what you do. This is when you go. This is when you don't go. So when you try to kick a field goal, all of those things. Um,
I would,
so
I don't know, like I would lean toward going for it. With the inconsistencies of our field goal unit, even if it's,
well,
I don't know.
my problem with field goal, like when they set up, what was it 4th and 14 or whatever, and he's struggling on the right hash. You have a long down and distance, center the ball so he doesn't have to kick from the right hash, or the left hash. Even just center the ball, like run a play, try to get a few yards and center it. Um, but again, they can't run the football, so maybe that's part of it too. It's sort of a double edged sword there.
And that whole sequence got thrown off because I think at first down play they tried to split the receivers far, way as close to the sideline as they can, and then they ran Haynes King, and he got stuffed for -3 or -4, and I don't remember second down, third down weren't great either. So
So we'll stay on this line of thought because there's some stuff to this. So this dude's asking. I'm not going to say your username because I'll probably mispronounce it or whatever. But the comm system cut off with 10, 15 seconds left. I think it's 15 seconds, and I think there was, I swear, one play in the game where it looked like Haynes got like part of a call, and then just was like sort of like, what do I do? And then walked up, said some stuff to the line, and they ran kind of like a hodgepodge play. It seems like there's a little bit of confusion going on with that stuff, and I wonder if they go back to signaling, and maybe that's something they'll have a discussion with and this week, and just be like, hey, keep an eye, use that time to be like, hey, keep an eye on the high safety, or I see him cheating, whatever. I wonder if there's guys are trying to play too much chess in all this. Um, it's hard because Buster always looks like he has just been like beaten in a boxing match after every single game, including last year. So it's hard to tell with body language and stuff what's going on. But yeah, I feel for him. It's hard. They're not playing hard football, and your line's not. You can't run the football. It's hard to be an OC in that situation when you can't do the most basic stuff and get 2 yards on a dive. It's hard to do. I'll answer this question too because this is real interesting to me after watching. Um, could Miami be the best team that Georgia Tech faces this season? And I can't believe this is a serious question. Yeah, I talked to a coach at USF that was on the field during that game, and he said that they were better on the lines of scrimmage than Bama was. And that was kind of shocking to me, but having watched both those games that USF played against them, I agreed with them that they were playing better than Bama was at the time. Now, when they played Bama, Bama's left tackle was out, and they had shuffled the line around and had a bunch of holding penalties and stuff on the line. But even defensively, and Miami's been playing without Ruben Bain. They've been pretty gnarly up front. They look like a better team than Georgia does even at this point in the season. And so, um, like if I don't have an AP vote. I have no desire to do that, but um, because it's hard to watch. I don't feel like I can watch enough games in a weekend to be voting on who should be in the top 25. But um, the Miami just they look like a top four team right now, and it's weird to me. Like I'm just kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Now maybe it's I don't wish injury on like Cam Ward gets banged up or something. Their whole season could go sideways on him, but they look really good right now, and that's fascinating to me after they've been so bad or so mediocre or so average for so long and not been able to get over the mountaintop with so much talent. So we'll see if if they do win, that Cam Ward investment certainly paid off, and that's what did in Florida State why they have DJUs because they got outbid for Cam Ward apparently, supposedly, allegedly, whatever I got to say to protect myself there legally. That was the thing that everybody said.
Well, Miami's been back for
They're
Miami's been
always
back
back, brother,
every
until they're not, like in the middle
yeah.
of the season.
They were like maybe Texas last year was the like Texas will always being back. They were actually got back last year. Maybe this is the year Miami's actually back instead of just saying they're
To be
back.
honest, it
So
would be better for the league right now if Georgia Tech's not going to play in the championship game. To see like a Miami Clemson game with both of them in the top 10 would be or Louisville and Miami or whatever, whoever it is, some matchup like that. I think that's going to be better.
I don't know if Clemson's good or if NC State's really bad, but that was one of the worst games I've ever seen the other day. NC State looked awful. So
Here, I'm going to answer Steve's question here too. He's asking about the analytics and being in his ear several plays advanced. Yeah, that's the thing that Paul was so good at, right? And I agree. So like the one that got me where I was kind of like, this is a little not great. Um, was the short field goal that they made. It was whatever 4th and 3 or whatever it was down on the close to the goal line. They took a delay game to kick. You run a freeze play there. That is like the most basic thing. You're going to take a delay game anyways. Just run up there and because they won't in that position. Like you could go for it, and you tell Weston Franklin, do not under any circumstance snap the football. We're going to kick a field goal, and then hope to draw them off sides. Have Haynes go hard count it, and you'd be surprised how often that can work in that situation. You're down on the goal line like that, and in a game like that, you might be able to steal a first down and go punch it in. So that was the one that kind of stuck in my head.
he was on. You could clearly see on TV. He was asking for a measurement like way after the play was over, and so that ate into the play
Yeah,
clock too. So
you gotta either you get it or you don't. It's
right,
interesting. No one wants to measure the football anymore. I commented on this when we were in the box, and I also called the safety, which was very funny. When they turned the ball over and on the one or whatever it was, and like on the like half-inch line, I was like, watch. I was like, I was like, they will not help themselves, and they'll try to throw the football out of this. And if there's a hole, I thought it was going to be like a holding penalty in the end zone. That would be the safety, but the guy just fell down, which was even worse.
he tripped over his running back.
Yeah, it was just stupid. There's not enough room to run play action there, like
Yeah,
really. Um, and so it was a stupid play. You run what you do there is you sneak. They were blocking well enough to do that. Sneak, get yourself a yard, and then if you want to try something, try something. But it was a little bit arrogant of a call by Jeff Brom there, in my opinion. Eric also with a question here. So this is the thing I talked about before the season, right? Like we all had things pegged incorrectly about who was going to be good, who was going to be bad, and like Eli Holstein has changed Pitt and made Pitt very competitive, right? Because that was what they were missing. It was quarterback play. And that's what killed them last year. Virginia Tech was the darling of everyone going into the season, and they suck. I think Tech fans had an idea of what was going to happen at Carolina, and it's so far sort of playing out like we all thought it would. Having observed the minister of BS, as Paul Johnson called him, in action, and then NC State just man, he is the king of like having a great season and then just like really fumbling when they have like expectations on him. And I thought McCall was kind of a weird quarterback choice for them. And he has not looked very good either. So he's not good without Chadwell. So yeah, I think that, there'll be 4 games where Tech could be favored in the back half of the schedule. I don't know what'll happen with Duke. That'll be interesting. That might be like a Tech by 3 line, like the home favorite. It's like a pick 'em. But they could be favored against Carolina, NC State, and even at VT, depending on what happens at VT. Now, maybe VT figures it out. I don't see Carolina figuring out when Max Johnson got hurt. That was a pretty huge blow for them. Um, and if I'm Amari and Hampton, I'm like really. This is where you're lucky you have NIL money because like if I were that kid, I'd be shutting it down and being like, I'm getting ready for the draft. Like screw this, like peace. But no. So
Apparently, they had to talk Mac Brown out of walking away
of
after state.
quitting or whatever it was, yeah. Like that was so crazy. I got back to my hotel room in Louisville and was like, um, it's just I don't know. The season's not over, and I get mad when people are like, "The season's over," whatever. It's not. You never know what's going to happen. This is right now. Brett Key's trying to build something of sustainable. It's not about trying to have like a fluke season where you win 8, 9 games or whatever. He wants to consistently win, so that's still all there. I think it's just about how you finish the season. But this was everyone looked at the schedule and was like, "This is a coach killing schedule at the beginning of the year." Go to a bowl game, max out what you can on wins here in the back half of this. Get to 8 wins, and you have something to carry over into next year. Get to 7 wins; it's an improvement over last year. Like all of the, well, no, 7 wouldn't be, but get to 8 wins. Like that would be an improvement over last year. And I think people would be excited, and it would build more momentum for next year when you have a more favorable schedule on paper.
7 wins in the regular season would definitely be an improvement, especially with this schedule. I mean, and then get to a bowl game, maybe get to 8. I think that would. I mean,
Yeah, and that was
obviously we
sort of
want better,
my
but
projection going into the season. Not knowing that we we always know games are hard. We just don't know which ones are going to be the hardest, right? And that's sort of the flux right now. So we'll see. I don't think Duke's for real. I was talking to an ACC insider guy, like not the ACC insider, but a friend that covers the ACC, and he was just like, they're. And I've watched Duke play a couple times. They've not played anybody. I'm very, very interested in watching this Duke Carolina game this weekend. I think it's going to be very entertaining because you have Jeff, and then the guy sort of Jeff's patterned after in a way, Manny Diaz, but Manny's a better coach. Like, I'm very curious about all this.
Duke should have lost that game to Northwestern. That was an awful game that they should have lost up there. So they should have a loss at this point.
Charles coming in off the top rope here after a long and storied career as GC3 finally ruined Mac Brown. I felt like when they hired, and I like Jeff personally, I'll say this, like I had no issue. He was fine with me. Like I just don't think he's a very good coach, and I always thought he was overrated. And if people go back far enough with the site, they'll remember I was like kind of downplaying them being interested in him when Todd got won over and hired him. Todd Stansberry. I had talked to too many people that had like bad stories about him, and supposedly he's turned over a new leaf at Carolina and has been less of a prick. But I just don't think he won with like some really talent, like stacked defenses. Mississippi State with Chris Jones, and then at Florida with all those Muschamp dudes that were just really, really good defensive players. Um, but yeah, the one thing that Jeff was good at was beating Mac Brown, and now he's might be sending him off to retirement. It's just,
He
but
had him
Max
wanting
made what
he had him wanting to quit on Saturday apparently.
he
So
did, and like Max made some real terrible hires too. Like their OC's a guy that like Brent Key turned down. Like he had Chiswick. He brought him out of retirement. Like I don't understand what Mac's doing. They have money. Like you could get better people. What I've heard is Mac's very hard on his assistants, and maybe that's like part of this. Like he has maybe like that old school coach rep where he's a little bit of a cracking the whip. Um, I don't know, but it is funny.
let's get back to the board's question. There's a The question we've kind of talked about, what he thinks holding back the running game. Is Haynes not as explosive as last year, or is the OL not getting the same push? I think those are both right on the money because Haynes is banged up. He's not explosive as he was last year, and the interior offensive line is not getting any push. So it's tough when you got a banged up running back and they got guys in the backfield at the line of scrimmage. So, yep, I think you hit on both of those.
Yeah, I think I agree.
So, let's see here. Moving on down. There was a question about the Pick'em thread that said that you said after I posted that you had a bad feeling about it. Was what
Oh,
was
about the
the
Louisville, I picked. So for those who don't know, I picked Louisville to win the game. And the what was my score? Was it 31?
you picked 31-24, so
I was
you
pretty
got one of
close.
them. Yeah, pretty yeah.
Had they not blocked the field goal, it would have been very close. Well, no, because had he not missed the field goal, the first one, not the blocked one, because the blocked one made it is what made that score for Louisville. I just didn't like the matchup when I was looking at it on paper and thinking about it, and just something feels off about the team right now, and I don't know what it is, and I can't put my finger on it. It's just there's something a little different about what's going on, and they haven't found that magic that they had the last 2 years so far, and at times, and it just feels a little bit like the team got full of themselves when they got ranked, and they haven't been able to pull it back out. If that makes sense.
I mean, I think that they and I fell for it too when they won that game against Florida State and then Georgia State, and then they got ranked. I felt like we were a pretty good team, and then we went up to Syracuse and kind of laid an egg. So it's one of those
That
where
was
you,
and that was rough because they were dead on the like um Ken, Chad, and I were down on the field before the game, and all three of us were like, "Man, this is pretty dead." Like there was no juice. Like no one was excited to be there to play. I don't know what that's about. Like I don't know if it's like a culture issue or something else, but that's something Brent's got to figure out. And maybe it's like he's got to put throw some other people into the mix or whatever it is. But there's definitely something not quite right now with the team.
when you say juice, you don't want to bring back the juice crew, do you?
Oh, doing their dancing on the sideline, and then whoever
Yeah,
dances the best gets like the Juice Crew Player of the Week or something.
the that I'm very
His Player of the Week list was like this long. It was like,
he had like a I remember he had a thing every week where he named 3 or 4 players the juice crew for the week. So yeah, that was something else. But we do talk about Jeff Collins a lot on here. I'll tell you what.
it's hard not to, man. It was such a bizarre time. It's like if you were like a White Sox fan right now watching that crap like every week, like you'd just be like, or like when the Mets were awful and people still talk about that, like in the '60s that were alive back then, like the how awful those Mets teams were. Before they won the World Series though a few years after that, so maybe that's what you can hope for with this. But yeah,
I
it's
think
funny to see the it was definitely the bottom. God, I hope for our sake, Alex, that was the bottom of what we'll ever see at Georgia Tech.
I think and somebody asked me that on the comments. I don't know if I ever answered it back on my takeaways. It's like, what makes you feel? Because I put in there like I still feel like things are turning in the right direction. It's not like Brent Key's going to be a bad hire or anything. I think he's actually got things going in the right direction. I think people's invested in it, and I think he's actually got a good staff. It hadn't looked very good sometimes in the first half of the season, but I don't like. There's a whole different kind of feeling around the team than there was. At the end of Collins, it was just so like disorganized and just people just not buying in. It was just so bad. So that's one of the reasons I think is I'm still believing in what they're doing right now. So I don't know. Maybe I could be completely wrong and whatever, but I mean, I feel like things are going in the right direction. It just takes time to once you go through a period like that, you figure out every way in the world to lose. It takes time to figure out how to win. So maybe we're in the middle of that right now. So I hope
Oh
so.
my God, I'm laughing at. I just happened to click over to Twitter for a second, and um, buddy Trey Wallace, who covered the Vols, he's works for like Outkick or something like that now. What is Trey doing now? Yeah, he works for Outkick. He was posting the hotel rates for the Alabama Georgia game this weekend for Saturday to Sunday. You want to take a wild guess, Alex, at what the this is a home to
Uh,
home suites by Hilton. So that's it's like a hotel room with like a bedroom and a kitchenette. So
I'd say
normally that
probably
would
about.
be $200 a night, maybe.
I'd say it's probably up around 800 a night, maybe. I don't know, somewhere
Three
around there.
thousand $977 a
Yeah.
night with
Well, hey,
taxes and fees for the weekend for
well, hey,
two
Trump's
nights.
Trump's
Nine
going to be
thousand,
there too. So
yeah, $9,148
yeah, that's
with
a little.
tax. Holy moly! I had thought about going to that game, and as you said, the former president's going to be there. Knowing what security and things are like when someone like that shows up at one of these games, like, no, thank you, I'm
I've,
good.
I've
It's
been
traffic's
to
bad enough there on a game day. Like, I can't even imagine.
I've been to I've been to several Alabama games. My cousins are big Alabama fans, and just getting into Tuscaloosa. This was, I think I went to some before Saban, like, and it was bad then. But then when they got rolling, game days over there, it's you might as well just you're not gonna get there and get back in a game day. Like you're gonna be there all day. So with Trump being there too, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be so much of a headache. So I don't know. Maybe Georgia fans deserve that, but that's just me talking.
Um, Someone asked, "Will the 3-2 start negatively recruit impact recruiting?" No, because most of the teams are going against are doing equally poorly. Like Auburn literally has Hugh Freeze has former players calling him out on Twitter. Bo Wallace like lit him up. Um, they're they were promising people like Sam Turner how great their offense was going to look, and this young quarterback. They put the young quarterback in, and he's awful, and they have to go back to Peyton Thorne, and he sucks. And so, no, as of right now, there's no real immediate impact in recruiting. I think if you don't go to a bowl game or like win 3 games or something, then yes. But three being +1 right now is not going to hurt recruiting.
I don't. Yeah. As far as I know, Turner's still doing his official visit this coming Saturday against Auburn's hosting Oklahoma. So
Yeah,
we'll
they'll
talk.
go over well. Oklahoma's start. They're both going to be like both have teams have quarterback controversies and offense problems. I think Oklahoma's starting Michael Hawkins, the true freshman, and Lord knows who Hugh Freeze is going to trot out on the. So Hugh, I'm not going to get into it because they'll get me in trouble. I've heard a lot of interesting stories about their attempts to get quarterbacks in the portal this past cycle, and then already trying to work the portal ahead of time for next year. And I'll leave it at that. From some people I know that have been back channeled already. So it is very funny to see old Hugh uh, struggling. It's a shame, because he's such a good man and faithful husband that he's struggling. I'm just kidding.
There's a question on here about what's up with Burr. He doesn't look confident out there. He obviously. I mean, when you're a kicker
Kickers are
and stuff,
mental, man. Like it's a
yeah,
mental thing. It's like golf swing. Um,
that's that's why I never. I mean, and even in end of game situations, any level, like if you have a chance to score a touchdown, I've always been the guy. Especially in the NFL when teams like shut it down and just rely on that field goal to win. I would never do that in my. You never, even as good as kickers are, sometimes
Niggas
kickers
don't
are
miss, man. The
they're different.
best.
They're
Ask the Buffalo Bills, man. How many Super Bowls they lose because of kicking? Like, um,
yeah.
Eric, by the way, Eric is correct. You guys want to impact recruiting positively? Show up on Saturday for the Duke game. Uh, it's not even necessarily numbers, just being loud, obnoxious, and creating a hostile environment for the opposing team. It's huge. These kids love it. I think it's a huge factor. So I would say that's you guys doing your part. I do agree with Ken in the comments that people not having any patience for Brent Key is kind of funny after all this. I think O'Leary went like 5-6 his second year as head coach after like eking out a winning record his first year. It took him till year 3 to get to a bowl game. Like, um, you know,
I,
these things are not. They didn't go hire Nick Saban to be the head coach. Like, and Nick Saban wasn't coming here to be the head coach. Like, yeah. So O'Leary went 6-5, 5-6, and 7-5. They went and won the Carquest Bowl to get to 7-5. Um, the thing Rome wasn't built in a day, man. This ain't basketball. You can't go like so. Damon Stoudemire, if Damon Stoudemire can find 6 good players, they can win. Football ain't like that. Like you're building, you need to be 50, 60 man deep where you're comfortable playing that many dudes. And they're not there yet. And so there's a lot that comes into it. And you're still, it's a lot of mix and matched pieces. You got DC running a defense with players that are sort of being just plugged in. They weren't able to go out and just go sign free agents or whatever to go fill up all their holes. Um, there's a lot going on, man. It gets back to the thing with the kicker. Like, it's interesting. Gavin Stewart was really good in 22, and then he doesn't play well. Aiden Burr replaces him. Aiden Burr's struggling now after a great year last year. We'll see what happens to him. He's kicking off the ball really well, though, Aiden. Um, but a lot of it's mental, man. It's like a swing. It's like in baseball, man. It's imagine you're batting, it's bases loaded in the ninth inning. There's 2 outs, the bottom of the ninth, and you're up at bat. That's what these kickers go through like every time, like how tight you feel in those situations. Um, and unless you have like some weird foreign dude that doesn't like care, I think that everybody's pretty tight. And so that wasn't a joke about David Shanahan, by the way. That was more of like a joke about like there used to be I think like a SNL skit about kickers and like how they're all from like other countries and stuff. Because in the '80s that was like a thing in the NFL. You'd have all these like weird kickers from different places. And it was a weird digression, but yeah, man, let's just like let them do their let them figure it out, man. And these are and at the end of the day, unfortunately, they're all kids. They're getting paid money now, so everyone has a little feels like the ability to criticize is significantly different because of that, which is fair. But I think that I think it's really interesting to see how they spin out of this. This is the time when you realign things and should have your best foot forward coming out of a bye week. So let's see how they play coming out of the bye week. But I think fans need to show up, man. If you want anything to change in this, like you can't just stop going. That was the worst part of what Jeff Collins did to Georgia Tech is people stopped caring. And that's worse than anything. Apathy is what kills you, the entropy, all of that stuff. Isn't that correctly? Anyways,
those words are
you
too big for me. I'm from Lindale. I remember the North Carolina game last year, a night game, and it was in October, and it was pretty good atmosphere. It wasn't full, like the upper decks weren't full, but it was a really good atmosphere on a Saturday night, and I think that that would be great to kind of replicate that for the Duke game because I think it's a pretty huge game. Because I mean, 3-2, you can if you need to win that game. I'm just saying. I don't know if it's a must-win game, but you need to win that game. If you go 3-3. And then with the back half of the schedule the way it is, it's a pretty big game in my opinion.
let's take a second here, and I would like to um, thank our sponsor, Section 103, who bring you the best in Georgia Tech cool athletics wear. You see all the Haynes King gear they got going on, and the North Avenue Trade School shirt. That's pretty cool. Like if I could rock one of those shirts, I would definitely rock the North Avenue Trade School, and that's pretty cool. I can't wear tech stuff. Like that's the one line I won't cross. I didn't wear UJ stuff when I covered them. I should like that's the and it's very funny because I'll tell a story in a second, but Section 103 has the best of this stuff, man. They come up with cool designs. It's tech people making stuff for tech fans. I think that's the coolest thing. And if you want some tech stuff, a great way to support people who care about your program. So go shop section103.com and get your tech gear. Story I was going to tell is very funny. The first year I was covering Georgia Tech, It's 2009 season, and they had a quarterback that signed. I guess he was in the 2009 class. Let me double check this real quick, because I don't want to get the story wrong. So bear with me for a second.
The North Avenue Trade School shirt reminds me of the GTGs. You remember them, or that might have been before you?
Yeah, I
The
feel like that might be before me.
GTGs was a little rap group. I think when Paul Johnson first got there, they got a little they got popular with Georgia Tech fans. I just remember they had a line about North Avenue Trade School.
So when I got hired, one of the first people to reach out to me was weirdly the quarterback commit in that class's dad, which was the 2009 class. So I started, my first day was like the spring game for the 2009 season. So I went and watched spring game. And then Jordan Llewellyn, who was a high 3-star quarterback from Indiana that was Paul Johnson inside, his dad was on the site, and he sent me, or I don't remember if he sent it or just gave it to me, like came up to me, and he gave me like this really nice Georgia Tech polo. Ironically, it was navy, which was also very funny to me. I think I still have this somewhere. I don't think I ever got rid of it, but I was just like, I can't wear this, like, or like that's my like weird journalism thing is like I can't wear like the team I covered stuff.
I remember Jordan Llewellyn. He ended up at Cincinnati, I believe.
Yeah, he transferred out because Tevin beat him out, and then he went to Cincinnati, and they made him like a tight end or something eventually. He got like covered in tattoos and like really good kid. Uh, at least from my experience. Will coming in with a great. Everyone always tells me I should make stuff, man. I just don't have time for a lot of that. Like, I appreciate the idea, and it would be funny to wear like a shirt with a QR code on it. That would be hilarious. It like takes you to like a sign up page to the website. That's very funny and interesting. But I don't know. I like being a little more low key than that. Philip's asking if the hurricane's going to affect college football. I don't know. I'm glad I'm not covering a game this weekend. Be sitting, if it affects anything, it'll be like canceling my son's soccer game, and I'll be able to sit at home on Saturday and literally just eat wings and like watch football for like 14 hours straight, which would be fine by me.
Come on up to the mountains with me. I'm gonna do a little wagering this weekend. So,
Oh, are you?
who we
One
going?
of my friends sent me a picture from Vegas. He won like 10 grand betting on college football last weekend.
Well, that's not me. So,
And he's like, check this out. He had like literally like a wad of, it was like one of those like pictures you see on like, his older, a dude in his like 50s. It was like a picture of him, like, it was just a wad of money. Oh, Joe the Pilot wants my Georgia Bama prediction. I haven't thought about it. I have to give one every week for the Bama site. I give like a little synopsis of the game. I actually think Bama's going to beat them. I think Georgia's like going to lose 3 games this year. They just don't look as good to me so far. So I'll say, assuming Mother Nature doesn't like completely like crap on everything, 24-17 tied is my prediction for that one. That'd be a nice bye week gift for Georgia Tech fans if Kalen DeBoer knocks off Kirby Smart in their first meeting as with him as the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I've seen a little bit of Alabama this year. Cole Kublik said the other day that he thinks Alabama's got the best trenches in the country. So I don't know. My prediction, I don't know. As long as Georgia loses, I don't. That's good with me. I'll say 30, 33-20 Bama. I don't know. Georgia's.
You're not gonna say like 100-0, just to be like you just go total like heel well, I guess if you were going heel you'd pick it the other way, but it's just a total like hey, I'm like all about like as a Georgia Tech fan I want them to lose like 100-0, which
Well,
is not gonna happen. But
I think I texted you after the Kentucky nonsense. Like, man, all I want is for Georgia to lose to Bama, Texas, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech. I don't think that's too much to ask. Well, um,
UT Chattanooga, whoever else they have on their schedule.
yeah. I do
They
think,
go 0-12.
yeah, I don't know. We could be totally wrong. Georgia wins the national championship again, but I don't know. I've never been a believer in Carson Beck. I think he's way overrated. So some Georgia fans might clip this and make me look bad later on. But that SC championship last year against Alabama, if Alabama's defense could catch the ball, he would have thrown like 4 interceptions in that game.
Yeah,
So
I've not been. I mean, I've not been super impressed with him yet. He hasn't had that moment. He doesn't have, to me, he doesn't have like the it that the like Stetson Bennett guy had, or like some of the other quarterbacks they've had over the years.
I mean,
He doesn't even have like the David Green it. Like he's just sort of there and like functions in the offense. Does a nice job. He reminds me of some of those like guys at Bama that didn't win a title there for Saban. Like just game manager, like does a nice job, will get drafted and then go be a backup quarterback in the NFL for a long time.
yeah, I mean they're talking about Beck as like a top 2 or 3 pick in the NFL, and I don't know. I think yours is better. I think Deion's son's better. I don't know. There's some other quarterbacks that I would have
Jacob
high.
Coker, that's one of them. Yeah, I mean, I think Texas and Tennessee look to me from what I've seen, having watched both the Longhorns and Tennessee. Tennessee looks for real, man. Too like you talk about a team that looks really good, like Miami. Tennessee and Miami might be like two of the best teams I've seen this year. Obviously, with Texas, we'll see. It's interesting how good they look given the fact they lost their star running back and before the season, and then lost the second running back um, and then they've been playing with Arch. So that's tough when you go to your bench and it's Arch Manning. That's a real tough lot in life for Sark these days in Texas. But
Jake Coker actually won a national championship. I'm pretty sure he was the one that beat Clemson. Maybe I don't know. I don't.
no,
I can't. I know Jake Coker. They had a really good year with him. I know they had the Sims year where they didn't win. I think that was the Ohio State year. But
someone wants us to pick
UNC.
the Duke UNC game.
I don't know. I don't think
I don't
either
have a
one of them
score
very
yet.
good.
I think Duke beats them. I just don't have a score. I think Duke's really angry. They got like really boned in the last two times they played them. Like last year was about as infuriated. And like I had no skin in the game. Like I didn't care. But like I felt like Elko and his staff got like screwed at the end of that game. Like there were so many bad calls. UNC had like 8 shots at the end zone and one drive to like try to tie the game to go to overtime. Oh yeah, you were right.
I've um I got a little Bama in me from
You're a
a.
little bit younger than I am. Your mind's a little sharper than mine.
Well, I've got some Bama stuff in my closet too. So I got a little Bama fan in me. So
I don't know if this will be the weakest, but um, I think there's three good teams right now. It should be Texas, Miami, and Tennessee that I've seen. And I'm curious out of the Bama, Georgia, and I haven't watched any Ohio State this year yet.
they've played nobody. They've got a
Yeah, like
preseason schedule. So
who comes out of sort of that realm of it? Um, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. I mean, we're so early into Tech's not early into the season, but everyone else is like 3, 4 games in. So, um,
there's still a few more questions on the board, but
if there's like maybe just pick one good
yeah,
one.
there's one about how much is Buster's buyout.
That's always fun. Everybody's ready to check
uh,
out on the have a bad game. Everyone was ready to write off Tyler Santucci, and then he has a much after the Syracuse game, and then the last 2 games they've played much better. There's last year Buster wasn't they didn't look great in the first half of the season, and then they sort of found their stride and identity as a team, and then they were really good in the back half. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. This is not Paul Johnson running the option, and it's these plays and what like this is a little more diverse than that. So it is harder to have like your lean the things you lean on are what they're struggling at, which is the being able to run the football. That's been the bread and butter for them so long.
There's a question about Haynes King. Is he if he comes back next year, doesn't enter the draft? Do you think Pyron might
Yeah,
enter
if
the
Vance King
portal?
comes back, Zach Pyron's not coming back. And I'll speak very confidently about that. Like if I was Zach Pyron, I would leave too. He's gonna have his degree in December. Like Zach will stay if Zach thinks he has a shot. Zach Pyron loves Georgia Tech. That's why he's still here. Zach got offered opportunities through back channels to go sources to go places to be a starter this year. He wanted to get his degree from Georgia Tech. He loves Georgia Tech. But if there's not a path to starting and he has his degree in hand, he's going to explore his options, which is the beauty of the portal and what you want for a kid like that. He will have done his duty for Georgia Tech. And if he's not going to be the guy, then he should go try to find a place where he can be a guy because he'll have 1 year left. Like, no one's going to, or 2 years left, whatever it is. No one's going to slight Zach Pyron for doing that, nor should anybody. I think that he'd have 2 years. That's the nature of the business in the age of the portal too. Like Brent Key could decide he wants to go get so and so as their quarterback, or that Aaron Follows the guy, or Zach's the guy, or whoever. And whoever is not the guy is going to leave. That's how it works now. Like, so if, say, there's Zach Pyron's going to be the guy next year, then Aaron Philo probably is not hanging out. Like, that's just the nature of this. If you were to ask me today, my gut feeling is that I, I'd be surprised if Haynes King wants to play college football at the age he'll be at next year. But I guess probably depends on how the rest of the season goes too. And then, what does that look like for the rest of the team? I don't know. That's a lot of hypotheticals. Who's on the staff next year? Like all those things are hypotheticals. We don't know. None of us knew that Josh Crawford was going to leave to go to Georgia, or that Brent would make all the changes he made in the staff. Like those are things that you can't envision. Like I didn't know who Trent McKnight was 6 months ago, and now I think he's a pretty good coach, and excited to see him on Tech staff as a wide receivers coach.
I could see them working powering in a little bit more into the offense the second half of the season too, because Haynes King is he's taking a beating too the first 5 games of the year. So anything
Here's
to save time.
so I'll get into this real quick with Joe the pilot. You say talking about Eford being a liability, and they need to run 3 safeties and pass it down. So they do run their dime package. Eford's still on the field because that's generally how you play that. But you could have Tajay, and you can't put in another. They don't have enough bodies at safety to put it to really go that deep. Anyways, they're already cheating and playing Omar Daniels at safety after he's mostly played nickel because Jaden Davis is out with an injury, and they lost DJ Moore for the season, and Miles Brooks has been banged up. So they're down on bodies at safety just in general right now. So unless maybe if Christian Pritchett gets ready at some point or something, like they're down to playing Tay Seymour and Omar Daniels as your 2 backup safeties right now. So they just don't have the bodies to do that. Right now they have like 3 true safeties that can comfortably play the game, and then Omar Daniels, who they're cheating over there to play.
Here's a question: Has Key lost the team? That's on the message board also.
Always love the has coach lost the team after short of losing to the Citadel. I feel like it's hard to lose a team when you lose on the road at number 19. The kids are real. Kids know what's going on. I do think there's something a little off, and Brent's got to figure it out, and that's why he gets paid decent money to figure it out. And I guarantee you, he's not sleeping right now and working on it. If I were to text him right now, he'd be wide awake. I'm not going to do that because give the
Send
man
him
a
a
break on a
link.
bye week.
Send him
Yeah, I
a
should
link. Let it.
send him my thoughts on what I think he needs to do to fix.
Let's let him join
So
the live YouTube right now.
yeah, bring
Special
Brent
guest.
in. Then you really will see somebody give you the finger, guys, and mean it. No, but that's very funny because Brent and I, that's one of our little jokes, inside jokes. So there you go.
That's what I was going. I was going to say something too a little while ago when they were talking about believing in Key and all this stuff. I'm a Georgia Tech guy my whole life. Brent Key loves Georgia Tech, and if there's somebody that's going to do everything in the world to succeed to coaching Georgia Tech, it's going to be Brent Key. So I believe that he is the person to do it. So I mean that might be homer talk for me, but I mean if they're like Kelly said it before, he'll do anything he needs to do to win. So that's why I feel like the people that's iffy right now on the board about Key, and yes, he's had some bad decision making, and there's been some bad times this first month and a half, but like he's learning, and he's I think overall though the foundation of the program is where the where it needs to be. So
I mean, look at
um,
people who were ready to write off Dabo Swinney after they lost to Georgia, and I think they've outscored their opponents like 150 to 25 or something since that game. Like, it's a long season. Just buckle up and try to not be like too high or too low. I think everyone got too high on the Florida State win, because when I watched that game, I was just like, that's not a very good team, and like Georgia Tech should have beat them kind of handily in that game and didn't. Um, which to me was a little more concerning than anything. What I saw that there is that should have been more of a lopsided game in Georgia Tech's favor. Um, so yeah, I think that you know, hopefully they get healthy this week. I would like to see a healthy Jamal Haynes. I think that's a big thing they're missing right now. I like the running back room. Someone asked about that in the chat earlier. I like Travion. I like Trille Maddox. I like Anthony Carey. We didn't get a chance to see last week. I like Chad Alexander a lot. Chad's a really cool dude. That's a great story, and a kid I'm excited to watch as well. Just kind of develop from that. I love that Georgia Tech has this history of guys coming from walk on. You have Joe Fusel on the O line, and you had Sean Bedford calling games on the radio, who had been, a guy from a walk on defensive lineman to an All American center at Georgia Tech, or All ACC center, and a Burlsworth Trophy guy. That's one of the cool things about Georgia Tech, and I think that's exciting that they have embraced that and have guys like Bailey Stockton's another one. Another example is backup slot receiver and your kick returner now. Like, those are cool stories. And there's, we're in it's a tough time to coach, man. This is why so many guys have got out of college football. There's a lot of me first attitudes, a lot of senses of entitlement, and guys being upset at their roles, and politics, whatever else is going on teams. And I think that as Will points it out perfectly, right? Like, Georgia Tech did more to lose the two games they've lost this season than the opposing team did to win them. Um, Aside from Kyle McCord playing really well, like, Georgia Tech was in. Ed Griffin on their couch coach had a great breakdown in the Syracuse game. This is how close they were to making some plays and stopping those drives and getting hands on balls and those things. This past week it was about, spotting them 17 points with a missed field goal, having another field goal blocked in return for a touchdown, and then Haynes fumble. I remember when Haynes fumbled, I literally said out loud, "What the hell is that? Like, what?" I just saw the ball fly up in the air and go backwards, and I was like, "What just happened?" Because we couldn't see it. It was on the far corner from where like our seats were, so it was like really far away. And just seeing the ball go up in the air and backwards, and then like a dude falling, I was like, "What the hell just happened?" And having to look up at the TV. Those are fluky things that happens, man. I just think that this is a good chance for Brent Key to reset things, and he's got to figure out what buttons to push too. I mean, they're to get them over the hump, and that's going to be a little bit on him too. So I'm excited to see how they come out against a Duke team that could either be really pissed off after losing to North Carolina, who lost to JMU, or really pumped up after beating North Carolina. So I think it's a good situation for Tech to go into, to play Duke at night at home. Uh, and we'll see what happens. I'm looking forward to watching college football this weekend as just a fan, watching other teams play too. I think that's the one fun thing about the bye week, and it's something that people who follow Georgia Tech like us all get to do 3 times this season. So that's very cool.
I'm looking forward to it too. It's not as much of my heart on the line as Georgia Tech Saturdays. So
Yeah, you can just sit and laugh at when if Duke puts 100 on North Carolina. No, that's not going to happen. But if there's like just another meltdown like that or something, that, I'm still looking forward to the JOL poster. Said that he's going to go to Chapel Hill and in 3 weeks, and he has his collection of Jeff Collins money to throw at him that he saved from when he was the money down money when they're on third down. If they struggle against Duke, Jeff might not be employed when they play that game though. That's like if they have another outing like that on defense, that might be making a change mid-season, bringing Chiswick back or something. I don't know.
maybe Mac Brown might walk away. I don't know. He tried to do it the other day, apparently.
Yeah, it's such a wild story. I can't wait to go up there and talk to my Carolina buddies that cover them and hear all the stories of what's going on the last couple of weeks. And for once again, glad I'm not covering the dumpster fire. I did my time covering a dumpster fire. I'm good.
I was reading that on the chat.
It's interesting. So Straight Jacket was sitting down there. He said that if he had got a little more air on it, that Rutherford had no one in front of him. Interesting.
I don't know. I watched it on TV. I didn't.
Yeah, like I couldn't see it live. I didn't. That's interesting though. Yeah, JOL would be very pissed if they would like a pound of. I told Alex this before the season. I was like, my greatest fear is that they go in there and like score 3 points on Jeff Collins' defense or something and lose to Carolina. Like that's like I like might have to like take time off if that happened. Like, just be like, all right, Alex, you're up this week. What is the game after Carolina? Is it the Notre Dame game?
Notre Dame, and then
So,
Virginia
did
Tech.
Northern Illinois actually hang on and beat Buffalo? I know that was a dogfight.
They lost. They lost. They're out of the top 25, I
So,
believe.
yeah, so I mean, that goes to show you how weird the things are. Like Notre Dame loses to Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois lost at home to Buffalo, the Bulls, not the Bills.
Well, Notre Dame was in a tight game with Miami, Ohio, a little bit the other day. They
Yeah, it
ended up
was
pulling
tight
away.
for
So.
a half or something, or like the first 20 minutes of the game or something like that, and they pulled away. Um, but yeah, so there's there's not a lot of this. Like everyone wants to do the thing where you're like, all right, if so and so beat this team, then I'm better than them or whatever. You can't do a lot. Look at Vanderbilt, like nearly upset Missouri um, last week, but lost to Georgia State and beat Virginia Tech. Like there's very little carryover week to week now, and that's got to be frustrating as hell if you're a football coach. And I'm sure one of the things that drives people like Brent Key crazy. And if he had hair, would be grayed out now and look like Rex Ryan or something. There's the shock of silver hair from that, but we'll see. It's it's interesting. But appreciate everybody for joining us. Thanks, Alex, for jumping on. I posted on the site. If you're watching this before Thursday, only one media avail this week. It'll be Thursday with Brent Key, and I'll be down there to cover that. And hopefully I'll get a chance to heal up. But I appreciate everybody, and thanks for tuning in, and thanks for your patronage of Jackets Online. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to Jackets Online and check out Section 103, who provide amazing stuff for tech fans. See everybody. Maybe we'll do something over the basketball schedule. I don't know. Basketball schedule comes out Wednesday night, or Tuesday night. Tuesday night.
Is today Monday?
Yeah, I'm all screwed up. Basketball schedule comes out this week. Hold on, it's in the chat. Give me a second. I'll find it because one of the dudes brought it up.
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow.
Yeah, so tomorrow night at 8 p.m. or something like that, which is the last like schedule release in the country. And then we have ACC tip off coming up soon. So lots going on. as always, stay tuned to Jackets Online for the latest and greatest on Georgia Tech football and men's basketball and hopefully baseball and recruiting. And we'll see you guys next time. Cool.